All right, so me and Marie, we just can't help but just start talking when we see each other. So episode 32, I think, Finding Your Place, Marie March. She's coming back to just kind of give us an update. She's, gotten through the legislative session. She knows what it's about now. She's got some things coming up. She's going to have to run another primary. Yep. I just want to talk to you.
Well, I told Scott, first of all, I'm really mad at him because every time I come here, it's like the day before my hair appointment. So my hair looks horrible. I've been in Richmond. I haven't had time for all the upkeep. Like, Scott, we got to get better at how we arrange these meetings.
You look fine.
But anyway, yeah, so back from Richmond.
Let's just start there.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
So...
How do you feel? How do you feel right now about you in the machine?
It's definitely a machine.
Yeah.
And you get up there, and you are kind of sickened at how much money there is in Richmond. Yeah. And there's bureaucrats and lobbyists and agencies that camp out right around the money. So they come and lobby all day long to make sure that their industry is getting all the money. So I think what really got me is halfway through session, I drove back to visit my family one weekend, and I start to realize, like, I get into Floyd County, and the roads are terrible. I'm hitting potholes, and I'm hitting everything, and I'm like, gosh, I didn't realize, like, the roads are a lot better up in Richmond. Yeah. And so I started to pay attention to that, and I started to realize, in every aspect, the money is not making its way back to our district. It stops in Richmond, and that's really what bothered me the most. I had one bill that we tried to get hunting and fishing licenses for first responders, for EMS, firefighters, volunteer firefighters.
That. Yeah.
Well, I get up there, and I get a visit from the Department of Natural Resources, and a crew of them come into my office, and they're like, well, Mrs. March, this bill's just not going to work. This is going to cost our department $50 million.
Wow.
And I'm like, $50 million? And I don't believe that it was going to cost nearly that amount. But yeah. They come up with every way they can to make it have the appearance that the fiscal impact, is just going to devastate their agency. And I'm like, but wait a minute. But we don't have volunteer firefighters. We can't keep people. We can't recruit people. People are busy. And my thought is, in the rural areas where this is really impacting, in Pulaski and Floyd County, it would be a really good incentive, because a lot of people that are volunteer firefighters, really anybody, can't afford the lifetime hunting and fishing permit. So, it's just an argument, but the agency wins. They literally, I was shut down in that committee. They did something called, they laid it on the table, meaning nobody even votes for it. They just scoot it. It's gone.
Wow.
So, and I had Andy McCready from Pulaski. He came and spoke about it. He talked about how, they're down to like 4 volunteer firefighters in Pulaski. They're working all the wrecks on the interstate. They're doing everything. And he spoke about how badly this bill would really help, but didn't matter.
Wow.
It was killed.
That's wild. That's just, it seems like to me that the people, these people probably, I can't imagine that's going to be $50 million.
No, it's not.
And like half of them wouldn't take the hunting and fishing license anyway.
Of course.
They wouldn't be interested.
Of course.
They're not interested in that, especially in the cities.
Of course.
Yes. So this only does affect the rural areas.
Well, they said too, it's going to lure thousands of people to come get their free hunting and fishing license. And we came up with in the bill, you had to work there for 3 consecutive years. Like we weren't just going to give it to anybody that signs up.
The new hires, you're not. Yeah. You got to be tenured in some way.
Yeah. We wrote all that into the bill, but. They just said there'd be this mad rush of the entire population, that would become volunteer firefighters in order to get the free lifetime hunting and fishing permit.
So is this one you're going to stick in your pocket and bring back out?
Yeah, we're going to try to figure out how to rework it for sure. And I'm going to do that with a lot of the bills that got killed. But what you realize in Richmond, the bureaucracy, the agencies, they are protecting themselves.
Yeah.
And they're getting all the money.
Yeah.
They're growing their programs. They're growing, everything they're doing. And I got very disgusted at what's going on because it's not coming back to the people that need it back in our district.
Yeah.
And the roads, I've been on the phone with David Clark at VDOT. He knows. Call him all the time. He's on speed dial on my phone. I'm like, David, this is a huge disaster, our roads. And so I'm fighting with VDOT right now. They are trying to make Auburn Baptist Church and school, it's a private school, put in a turning lane on Route 8.
Yeah.
So
I'm my family goes to that church. You know, I'm involved, just knowing what's going on there. I would just tell them to wait it out because it's got to happen sometime, Well,
they're trying to make them pay about $500,000 to put in a turning lane.
Yeah.
And so my question's been to VDOT, the government builds roads, not private enterprise, not private industry, not churches, a turning lane. Now, I understand if it's your own driveway, but this is a turning lane. This is a road.
Yeah.
So, they're putting this burden instead of using our tax dollars. I don't know where our tax dollars are going.
Yeah.
Where are they going?
Right.
So I'm pretty upset about that. I believe.
And they're actually stopping the growth and expansion of that church because they have a lot of ambition over there to make an impact on the community, and they can't get nothing else built on that site until they do that.
Correct.
So they're holding them hostage.
And in addition, so I carried the Tim Tebow bill to try to allow homeschool kids to play public school sports.
I think you got that one done, right?
I almost did. I got it through the House. It did not pass in the Senate. The Senate, they killed me in committee by 2 votes.
Wow.
So those are 2 people we got to get rid of
to
get that through. But anyway, my thought with that allows our whole community to come together.
Yeah.
It allows our homeschool kids, to play in the community.
Sounds like more funding would go to the public schools if they allowed that.
It would.
Right? Yeah.
It totally would. It would be a revenue stream. But and see, back to Auburn Baptist, they're trying to build a gymnasium so their kids can play sports because right now there's no facilities.
Yeah.
So this is the problem: is we've got our tax dollars funding the public schools, putting in turning lanes for public schools, putting in gymnasiums for public schools. But then you've got a competing group, say it's a private school that's maybe for Christianity or religion, and they're not being given anything. And the burden is on them. And in depressed communities like where we are, there's no extra money for them to raise tuition.
Right.
Because nobody has it.
Right.
So it's
just time.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And we need reinforcements in Richmond. So that leads me to, we just took over the Montgomery County GOP party.
Yes.
Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that.
So last week.
New chairperson, right?
New chair, grassroots.
Yeah.
All the grassroots people from the community came out.
Yeah.
They voted for new leadership. The old guard got swept out because they weren't willing to work with new, younger people.
Right.
And so we've got Joanne Boulding at the helm, and she's going to be great.
Nice.
She is fantastic. Have you met her yet?
I have not. No, I have not.
Yep, she's great. She's a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Hardcore, energetic, black lady.
Nice.
New face of the party.
Very good.
Yeah. So we're changing things in Montgomery. Of course, I lose Montgomery County in redistricting, which I'm sad about. But
so let's talk about that. So you just who's picking up that spot?
That is an entirely open seat.
Oh, wow.
So Montgomery County
it's going to be its own thing?
Becomes its own thing.
Wow.
Basically, Blacksburg, Christiansburg, all the way through the Roanoke County line, Shawsville, Elliston. We need a good candidate.
Wow.
So people like Joanne are going to be recruiting really good candidates.
Yeah.
I've heard, there's a few people maybe that are throwing their name in, but they're kind of the establishment folks. We want grassroots.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Richmond establishment, all they do is feed into the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And they play by the rules and they let everybody get the money.
Yeah.
We need business people. We really need business people, small business people to get involved.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then I get redistricted. Of course, I live in Floyd County, but I'm picking up Carroll County, Patrick County, Galax, and part of Henry County. So I go way down into the rural area, which I love, but I'm going to be in a really messy race with Ren Williams.
Gotcha. So that's going to happen.
That's definitely happening. We're already campaigning. We were both at the Floyd County mass meeting last night campaigning.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm at every GOP meeting.
Are you able to fundraise and do the same
We are now. Yeah. We're out of session, so we can start fundraising. Gotcha. So I'm lining up probably 6 or 8 fundraisers in the next 6 months. Yeah. I mean, we got to bring in some serious money.
Yeah, man, you just been at it. Like, and you're gonna have to stay at it the whole time, aren't you?
Yes.
Like, what's supposed to have
stopped.
been? Like, you should have been like, take a deep breath. Hey, I got the seat. I'm gonna sit back and and do my work now. Now you got to do your work, and then you got like threats on every side coming at you.
So true, Scott. I'm like, gosh, this is fun. I think. What am I doing?
Right. Yeah.
But it's campaigning.
It's gonna keep you on your toes. It's going to keep you on your toes. It's going to keep you engaged with your base. Though. Yeah. So that's an exciting thing. It's like you get to be so open now, and like people can get to know you a little bit better.
Yes.
And we talked about this omnipresent thing.
Yes.
Like, you do need to be everywhere. I mean, where everybody's paying attention, you got to go,
I agree.
So
I still haven't gotten a good solution to that. Right. We're doing a little bit better. My campaign team is getting posts on Instagram and Twitter, but
you need to get
still
to TikTok.
I know.
I mean, you see what Nick Freitas has been able to accomplish.
I know.
And like, that's your office mate.
I know.
I mean, that dude could do something, and you got you and him together.
I've got to get with it.
And like, you taking his game plan and putting, I've told a million people, I mean, not a million people, but a lot of people that I come into contact with, is like, if you could do the things that he's doing and the way that he's doing them, like,
well, we vote the same.
Yeah, of course.
So when you look at how we vote, we're both Liberty candidates.
Yeah.
So, I just got ranked the 3rd most right-wing nut job in the House of Delegates.
Nice.
I'm number 3.
Nice.
And it was this fella, Tommy Wright. He's an older fella. The Speaker of the House, Todd Gilbert, was number 2, and Marie March was number 3
Nice.
as being the most right-wing nut job.
Nice.
But I don't even know what that means.
Right.
It just means...
And it was obviously from some liberal
And Nick
study.
Freitas was like 2 down from me. So we were like neck and neck.
Right.
So we vote pretty much the same on all the bills.
So just imagine you having the same online presence as him.
Yeah.
Talking in the same manner that he does.
Yeah.
It really hits.
He can think on his feet real well. Yeah. I probably don't quite have his vocabulary.
I think you underestimate yourself.
I'm just not. I mean, he can. His vernacular, though, Scott. Yeah. I mean, he can just go wild.
Right.
And he's been there a long time. He's been there for 10 years, so he's got his confidence up.
Yeah.
He loves giving floor speeches.
Right.
I get kind of nervous, a little bit intimidated.
Right.
But I'm getting better. The more of it you do, the better you get.
Sure. Give you 2 or 3 years where it took him 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm already, like, in caucus, I'm starting to stand up and voice my opinion. I caught a bill that was kind of crazy. I kind of got some respect in caucus. There was a bill that came through. I want to say it was HB 640, maybe. But it was a sneaky bill that some Democrats put in, and people voted it in unanimous. And it was for a policing oversight board in Arlington County. Well, a lot of times when it's for a specific municipality, people just vote it in because they're like, we don't know what their drama is. You just vote for it because apparently they need it. Whether it's a new charter or whatever, everybody just shrugs it off and votes for it. Except for the term policing oversight board. And so I'm reading the bill, and I hired a lady to help me as a session aide read all my bills to make sure I didn't miss anything, because you have like thousands and thousands of bills, and you can miss stuff. Yeah. So she even brought it to my attention. She was like, exclamation point, look at this bill. So I'm reading it, and I stand up in caucus, and I'm like, so you vote in maybe 100 bills each day in block vote that have come through committee unanimous. So if it comes through unanimous, you just click the button for all 100 bills, and they're done.
What?
So we're going through these bills, and most people don't even look at the unanimous bills because they just assume the committee has vetted them.
And they know what they're talking about.
They know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, she had sent me this exclamation point. Marie, look at this. This is not good. This is a policing oversight board, which what they do is they get citizens, usually liberals, to watch over the police, take money away from the police. You know, it's just bad. Yeah. Policing oversight boards are bad. So I stood up in committee, and I'm like, hey, guys, on our unanimous block that we're about to vote in, there's a policing oversight board. And a couple of the old-timers are like, oh, it's no big deal. It's for Arlington. And I'm like, well, no, I read it more in-depthly, and it goes into detail that it can be, once it's in Arlington, it also has language that it can be utilized throughout the whole Commonwealth. So they all are like flipping through their pages and looking at it, and they're like, yeah, well, okay. And so a bunch of people are like, well, I'm not voting for it. So we pulled it out of the block. Well, I only got about 30 people on board with me in the caucus. You need more. So it went ahead and passed. It was the governor's first veto bill.
Nice.
So I get a major props. In the next day, it was his first veto, and the lady that runs our caucus, Amanda Batten, she's like, well, I just want to say we have something to congratulate one of our freshmen. Marie March caught this policing oversight board. She made a stink about it, and the governor, it was his first veto.
Nice.
So I'm like, thank you. Police oversight, bad.
Yeah.
But
wow.
That was pretty
awesome.
good, and it got me a lot of respect,
Yeah.
So then people started asking me, like, well, how are you going to vote, on that bill tomorrow? People started asking, like, what am I going to do? How are you thinking on this one?
Right.
So
that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And nobody knows about it because it was behind the scenes, but I do want to bring it up because, you've got to watch. There's sneaky little poison pills that get put into these bills.
Wow.
And there was another bill. So I got to be really good friends. My seatmate is a black fella named A.C. Cordoza. He's the only black Republican. Did you see him on Fox News?
Well, I met him, I think, when you
Yes.
at the meeting before your ceremonial inauguration.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've gotten to be like best friends.
Nice.
Like A.C. and I are tight.
Nice.
Well, oh man, we had so much fun the whole session sitting next to each other. We voted in the switchblade bill, to allow switchblade knives. I know it sounds like a lot of nothing, but
Right.
believe it or not, they were illegal under current code.
Yeah.
So, and I don't even remember what I was going to tell you about AC. We worked on tons of stuff. Oh, he was on the public safety subcommittee with me for gun bills.
Right.
Gun bills come through public safety.
Right.
So there was one bill, and Nick Freitas runs that committee.
Nice.
So, Nick's like, these are good bills, these are bad bills. Here's kind of the direction. For freshmen, they kind of give us a tutorial. This, we voted against the red light cameras, getting rid of the cameras that take your picture at the red light and send you a bill in the mail. We got rid of all those bills, voted them out of committee. Well, there was one bill that came through, and it just because it had one Democrat's name on it who is anti-gun, his name, he was the patron of the bill. AC and I couldn't bring ourselves to vote for it. Nick told us it's a good bill, and we were like, it can't be. It's got his name on it. So we dissented and we ended up getting rid of this bill, but even against Nick Freitas, and come to find out, after we all dug into this bill, it was a very bad bill.
Oh, wow.
It was going to cause all kinds of problems with, I believe it was going to make you a felon if they found the serial number damaged on a gun.
Oh, wow.
It was a Marcus Simon bill.
Gotcha.
And so AC and I both refused to vote how they wanted us to vote because Marcus Simon's name was on the bill.
Right.
So, I mean, we just both agreed. So we're kind of a little bit of the renegade freshmen
Nice.
that, we're not bought and paid for. No one really helped us with our campaigns.
Yeah.
We sort of came out of nowhere, won our elections, and we're not really beholden to anybody.
Yeah.
So
please stay that way.
We
Y'all,
are.
Please. Like, that's what we need.
Yeah.
Y'all need to answer to the people and the people
That's
only.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, because of that, it's hard with fundraising.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a tough time against Mr. Williams because the people, they're not the deep pockets.
Well, I mean, I met a couple deep pockets.
Yeah, I've got a few folks,
Yeah.
but they probably are scared too of how, if they really had to have me for a vote, would I do what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
And if it's pro-business and pro-development and all that, of course I'm going to, because that's my viewpoint.
Yeah.
But if it's to rig something, to make somebody a gazillionaire, I'm not going to do it.
Right. Yeah. And there's probably people that have relationships maybe on the other side that they can rely on that maybe.
You got it.
Yeah.
They like a puppet.
Yeah.
Because a puppet just does what they're told.
Yeah.
And that's what they stay very fearful about me.
Yeah.
So
well, you.
I'm not getting bought and paid for. I'm 44 years old.
Yeah.
It hadn't happened by now. I'm very set in who I am and what I believe, and free market, liberty. So, when you have those concepts and you believe in those concepts, money doesn't matter.
Sure.
It's not what it's all about.
You make it every day. You already making it, So,
And I've done it on the free market for the most part. Like restaurants, even though we're regulated, we don't have government contracts. We don't have anybody keeping us in business. We're not beholden to anyone.
Yeah.
We're beholden to having good food and customers that like the product.
Yeah. And good leadership to know, what to do and how to do it. And that's what I'm like.
Yep.
I mean, look at where we are now in this country with bad leadership.
Terrible leadership.
I mean,
Trump was the only.
The guy hitting the buttons matter.
Yeah.
Or the gal hitting the buttons matter. I mean, like, it really does, and it's showing up every day. I mean, wars across, the ocean, like, Putin off the chain. Like, I mean, it's wild to see how, the world's falling apart when they don't respect the leader of the free world.
You got it. None of this would be going on if Donald Trump were in office.
Yep.
We all know that.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
And he was a leader. He opened businesses. I've watched all the documentaries, the good ones and the bad ones. And the guy he's a doer.
Yeah.
He just gets up every day. And
flawed guy.
He's flawed just
guy.
like all of us.
Yeah.
But he gets up every day and he is going to accomplish.
Yeah.
He's a doer.
Yeah.
And we need more doers in all of these positions.
Yeah. So, to this point, you're happy with Glenn Youngkin's performance, and or where do you can you say and we can edit this out if we need to. Can you talk about Glenn Youngkin and where he is as a governor right now, and any desire for him to have done something different or be doing something more, or just talk about what you think about him?
I think that he's on the right track. Most everything he's done, I can't really find any fault with it. He's getting rid of the mask mandates.
Yeah.
He's, he definitely, I think the vaccine situation is tricky because it's like 50-50. Like some people that get it get sick. Some people don't get sick. Some people that don't get it get sick. I mean, there's no way. At one point, with my husband being a doctor, at one point, we hear about everybody that's ill.
Yeah.
And we, and sadly, it's terrible, but my husband being over a nursing home, he signs a lot of death certificates. Yeah. But we pretty much know when friends of ours are on ventilators. And at one point in time, we knew probably 4 people that were on ventilators. And it was 50-50. 2 of them had the shot. 2 of them had not had the shot. And they all, and not all of them have gotten better. We've had friends that have died. So I think Youngkin, he's pushed for the shot for sure. Sorry, my phone's buzzing. I should have turned that off.
I might be guilty of that here soon too. So
he's pushed for the shot because he feels like it's the best. It definitely inoculates you to the virus. Builds up your immunity. But I think natural immunity is even better. Yeah. But you've got to be able to build up that natural immunity, and Americans' immune systems are so immunocompromised.
Well, I mean, the Omnicron variant came for everybody. It came from the vaccinated. It came for the recovered.
Yep.
I mean, I had it twice.
Yes.
So
we did too.
So that shot feels like, with the death that it's caused and the harm that it's caused, and we don't even know the generational impact of it.
Oh yeah.
It seems just like more population control.
Whether or not we'll ever get facts,
Exactly. That Pfizer report that, they wanted 75 years on, that they got a couple months on, thankfully. It shows that they knew. It shows they knew that it was going to have adverse effects for a certain percentage.
Yeah.
Higher percentage than it should have.
My father was in the Tennessee Guard, and they required the shot, and he's older, he should be retired, but he was sort of fiddling around, staying in the Guard part-time.
Right.
And so he took the first and the second shot, and his lips turned blue. his blood was not oxygen. When your lips turn blue, it means your blood's not oxygenating.
Yeah.
So he had some sort of probably myocarditis with his heart rate. He didn't feel good. He felt terrible for weeks and weeks. And he's convinced, that it almost killed him.
Yeah.
Those shots about snuffed him out. Yeah. So he stopped. He didn't take the third one. He resigned from the Guard, and he's real mad about it. Yeah. So we know a lot of people that have had adverse outcomes.
It's sad.
Young people too.
Yeah.
I mean, even people in their 20s, their heart will speed up, their heart rate will go through the roof, 185 beats a minute. They're hospitalized because they have inflammation of the heart. But nobody's really talking about it. Joe Rogan gets decimated when he starts to bring it up.
But then it kind of grows his audience a little deeper.
Yeah.
I mean, people that are already his audience go deeper, and then new people find him.
Oh yeah.
It's like every time they try to come after him, he gets more attention.
Yeah. And this is kind of a segue, but I carried a bill to allow loved ones to visit their loved ones when they're hospitalized.
Oh, wow.
A hospital visitation bill. And so when I went before the committee, the committee's like, let's just say 6 Republicans, 4 Democrats. Let's just say it's 10 people. I don't know how many it was on that committee, but it's Republican-led. Well, when I come up to start speaking about it, you can see the Democrats. They instantly cross their arms like anti-vaxxer, lunatic. Here she comes with her right-wing nut job, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I come up there and I start talking about how my husband's a doctor. He's over, the nursing home. And he watched people die of loneliness. Their families couldn't visit them for a year. Some of them didn't have COVID. They lost the will to live because they couldn't see their families. They need human contact.
Yeah.
So I start talking about that, and then I have on Zoom, I was able to bring in some friends of mine that this happened to. One lady has recovered from COVID, but she was very ill. And her husband talked about how they were newly married. He couldn't see the love of his life. He could not be there with her and hold her hand. And then we talked about, Pentecostals believe in laying on of hands. So you're also affecting people's religious freedoms.
Yeah.
So we talked about that, and I watched the Democrats. They went from being angry to being like, gosh, like she actually cares about people. She's not a monster. Like she's presenting this from a totally different point of view.
Yeah.
Instead of this, but here's the problem. We had this knee-jerk reaction, let's just batten down the hatches. Let's close all the doors. Let's not allow friends and family. We'll try to keep them safe by putting them in a bubble. But that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Because, when you're elderly, you need your friends and family to visit you. You need that human contact. Yeah. So, of course, my bill didn't get anywhere. but I think I think the Democrats started to look at me as a human being. That was one of the bills I presented where, they were like. And then the second thing that I did is I gave a women's empowerment speech on the floor.
Nice.
And I talked about how, I don't think, our country is racist, misogynistic, sexist, because my voters in my district voted me into office by a landslide.
Yeah.
In a rural, solid red district that we get called all these names, the men voted for me.
Yep.
So what does that tell you? It tells you that Virginia loves women.
Yeah.
So I talked about, my childhood and how I never knew limits. Like my parents never taught me that I can't do anything that I want.
Right.
I went fishing and I was kind of a little tomboy, but no one ever told me, Marie, you can't do that.
Wow.
So I never knew that I couldn't do anything.
Right.
So, I told them that story and I had everybody laughing. They thought it was great. But after that, so many of the Democrat women came up to me and the men, and they were like, I loved your speech. Like you brought us all together.
Nice.
And so instead of
maybe you're softening them up there. Maybe.
They call me Dolly Parton. That's what they've nicknamed me.
Nice.
How embarrassing.
Hey, Dolly's awesome.
She's awesome. Yeah. I'll take it.
People love Dolly.
They love Dolly.
Yeah.
And I've been very friendly. I think they thought I was going to come up there and just pour kerosene on the whole place and torch it. And I've had those thoughts while I'm up there. I'm like, some of this needs to be torched. But but then, you make those interpersonal connections and, and the Democrat women, that's what I've learned about a lot of the Democrats. They have good intentions.
Right.
They care a great deal. Their ideology is flawed, in my opinion. Yeah. I believe in free market. They believe in socialism. Let's just face it. So that's a great divide on how money should be spent and how government should work.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to keep having those debates, and hopefully in a kind way we can get them to understand where we're coming from and hopefully get them to vote with us. One thing that we voted, it was really interesting, Democrats and a few of us Nick Freitas Republicans, the Liberty Republicans, we all voted against facial recognition software.
Heck yeah.
Because we
don't want them social credit scores.
We don't want it.
Yeah.
And my rural district really doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Now, the police wanted it because they want to be able to use it, and it would probably be helpful. Yep. But I don't want anybody spying on us. And it's a lot of it's Chinese software.
Yeah.
So, I voted against it. My opponent, who I'm running against, he voted for it. So there's big differences in how we vote, even though we're both Republicans.
Right.
And that facial recognition, it was interesting to listen to the Democrat women talk on the floor about why they were against it, because they believe it's going to be used for profiling, to go after the black folks. So they were all up in arms about it. And then all the Liberty people were up in arms because it's Big Brother spying on us. Yeah. So it was one area where we all came together, but it passed.
Oh, wow.
It did pass. So we don't know. The governor hasn't done anything. It's sort of just sitting on his desk, and we're kind of waiting to see how is Yankin going to weigh in on that. Because he is pro-law enforcement, and he'll do anything for those sheriffs and law enforcement.
I wonder what our local sheriff thinks about that.
Oh, I know what he thinks.
Yeah.
He contacted my sheriff in Floyd, had Brian call me up to tell me that I needed to vote for it.
Oh, wow.
And I've run into Hank since then. I'm like, brother, no. Like, we're not spying on our citizens. I'm sorry. And he's like, well, it would help us a lot. And I'm like, well, why don't you publicly tell everybody that you want it? Because I don't think most constituents want it.
Oh.
They don't want red light cameras taking their pictures, sending them a ticket in the mail. They don't want Big Brother, And I'll tell you this, too. I think there's like 20 out of 1,000 people are misidentified on that software.
Wow.
I was this is hilarious. I was tagged on Facebook as my dad twice.
No.
I mean, I sort of a little bit look like him, but I hope I don't look, I'm not my dad. So if that's going on, and so my assistant, Caleb Cruey, is a twin. He's an identical twin.
Yeah.
He gets tagged as his brother all the time on facial recognition. So it's not there where it needs to be. We don't need government spying. Chinese are behind it. That's what they use to manage
their population. Yeah.
Do we really want that?
No.
And not only that, it's so hard anyway to be productive in your career, in your life. Nick Freitas gave a great example of this in caucus. He said, with this facial recognition software, there's going to be 20 of us standing on a street corner, and there's going to be a car wreck, a fender bender, and we're all going to get in the mail that we've been subpoenaed because we all witnessed this. He's like, so it's going to be constant drama. We're going to be pulled out of our jobs to have to go, to have to say what we saw. No, I don't want. We don't live in England. We don't want CCTV. Right. I just don't believe that's America.
Yeah.
But
that's more government population control.
I think it is. Yeah. But your opponents, the people that voted for it, their side is the police need it. I think what they were trying to sell us on was the police wanted to they wanted to be able to identify John Doe's dead bodies. And they also wanted to use it for sex trafficking, to be able to identify, victims and perpetrators. And I understand, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
The liberty side of me, it violates so many of our civil liberties.
Yeah.
So that's the type candidate I am.
Freedom over security.
I mean, what's the Benjamin Franklin quote? Those that give up a little freedom for security deserve neither.
Yep.
That's how I feel about it too. I think that is still very valid.
No doubt.
So there's big differences, you know.
Yeah.
In me and that other candidate.
It's kind of exciting that you got to get back out there again. Like I said, you just keep going deeper and deeper with your base. They'll, you know, all these people love you. I think they're gonna show up again for you.
Hopefully, but I'm having to introduce myself to 3 new counties. You know, Carroll County doesn't really know me. Henry County, Patrick County, and Patrick County is his family. That's where he's from. So he's, you know, Floyd and Patrick are about the same size. We're gonna, you know, probably do about the same. It's gonna be the battleground. It's gonna be Carroll County because it's a big county.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm in Carroll. I'm working on lots of projects in Carroll.
Nice.
Yep. We'll see how it goes.
If we can ever be of value to you, you know.
You are. Yeah. I mean, you help get the word out. This is one of the only avenues that I can talk about bills and, you know, talk about the behind the scenes.
Yeah. So when there's key moments, you know, just let me know.
Yeah.
You know, you need me to be involved and come make you another TikTok or something.
Well, we should do something. So we have that April 4th emergency session that we're called in for next week. We're either going to come out of it with nothing is happening, or we're going to come out with gas tax will be obsolete, a budget will happen. I mean, those are kind of, but I don't know. The Democrats in the Senate are holding up the budget. There's a big fight going on, so it may drag out through the summer. We don't really know.
Well, let's just talk about the future. What's your prediction for just the landscape of the political, the political landscape of the country and Virginia? I
think we're going to run red across the whole country.
I mean,
I think these gas prices, that's it.
Yeah.
Game over. Inflation's through the roof. Biden is a blubbering fool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how can anyone bring themselves to vote for that?
Right. And like, can America now wake up?
I hope.
Can we wake up and see what that position does to the normal everyday lives of this country, you know, and the citizens of it? Like, you know, decisions matter. What you say matters. Like the it's not even about who it is, it's their policy. It's like
ideology.
Yeah. So like, can we look at, you know, now we got results from 2 different people, probably going to be running against each other again.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump back on his white horse, you know, coming back to reclaim power. Like, what a story that's going to be in history. Like, if he does it.
I can't wait.
I mean, he's already indicated pretty much.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much said he's going to be running. I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and we've done some stuff at the state level to tighten up these elections to make sure there's not, you know, people's dogs aren't voting anymore.
Right.
So I think
clean up all the dead people.
We've got to clean up those voter rolls.
Yeah.
We put through some bills to clean up voter rolls, to not have early voting go for a year, you know, to tighten it up. You know, that way people still have access, but, you know, they have to use a driver's license and they have to have a social security number.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that have to happen to, you know, assure that you're an American citizen to vote in our elections.
Yeah.
You know, we can't have other countries stealing our elections.
Right.
And, you know, there was even one, you know, I don't mean to keep harping on the differences in me and the other candidate.
Yeah.
There was even one bill, they wanted to get rid of the word illegal alien. And I voted against it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you know, just because somebody is misconstruing the word alien from another planet. The word alien has a Latin root, you know, and I'm like, no, we're going to leave the term illegal alien. Well, of course, you know, my opponent, he wanted to get rid of the word alien because he's more progressive than I'm a right-wing nut job.
So he was all right with it.
Oh, he wanted rid of the word alien. Yeah, he thinks it's bad. He's, you know, PC police. And we've got that in the Republican Party.
Wow.
You know?
So the establishment the establishment is still
they
trying to,
they kowtow to, the progressives and the AOCs.
Gotcha.
And we're doing it all over the place. And it makes me mad.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to draw that line, and here's the line you don't cross, and the buck stops here.
Yeah.
And very few politicians have the buck stops here attitude.
Right.
So
they just keep letting that line get pushed.
And it's got pushed to the left. It never gets pushed to the right.
Exactly.
I want to go for broke and push it all the way over here.
Yeah.
And have them start yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
Instead of it being us yelling and screaming.
Right.
Because we're losing our rights.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The freedom is deteriorating every single day.
It is. And it will more so with facial recognition and, Big Brother. And you look at, what's gone on with the January 6th. There's a police officer in Franklin County. I think there might be 2 police officers. But one of them, his family reached out and told me his story. He was in solitary confinement since July the 7th.
Wow.
Yeah, has been in solitary confinement. The guy was awarded the Purple Heart. He was in the military. I think he's been in the police force for like 19 years. His wife's a medical examiner. They've never done anything wrong. They're just people that get up every day and go to work. And he made the mistake of going on January 6th to see Trump speak, but unlike me, he made his way to the Capitol. So being at the Capitol landed him in jail.
Wow.
Yeah, in solitary confinement.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And
this is a local guy.
A local guy from Franklin County.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is. And a lot of people don't even know about it. The media is not even talking about it. They're making him look like he's, crazy.
We need to find more information on that. We need to be directed into that and get that story out there.
We do, actually. Because, the fella...
his life is ruined.
His life is ruined, and he never did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Never in his life, except he supported Donald Trump.
Wow.
So, and I had a lot of that blowback too.
Yeah.
They came after me, Chris Hurst. Of course, he lost his election.
Yeah.
But, just for supporting the president.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. They had dubbed me an insurrectionist. I was called all these names.
Yeah.
None of it was true. It's all lies. But, what do you do?
Right.
What do you do?
I am interested in the headlines this will create, because I know that some paper wrote something about you last time you were on here talking about some stuff.
They always do.
Yeah. So we're making headlines. Honestly, I made some headlines. I was on the news last night and this morning.
Is it the Pulaski thing?
Yeah.
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I've actually made I've had a lot of people contacting me.
I bet.
What is going on?
Yeah. So apparently these foundations were crumbling, and, the housing authority in Pulaski just
is it stick built or is it masonry? What's the building?
It's brick. It's brick house.
It's brick. So it's stick. It's
stick built
2x4s.
Yeah. So regular construction,
Yeah.
on-site construction, pretty much. And I guess they're just old. I don't really know the way the land lays. I can see maybe there's been some, shifting of the dirt or something like that, maybe. But I can't believe that. They had to evacuate these people within 24 hours.
How many families?
16.
Oh my God.
16 units got
And
condemned.
there's already a housing shortage.
And the wild thing about it is that the property just transferred ownership in the last 6 months. Under $1 million deal. You think that there would have been some sort of on-site inspection done by the person buying it, and like whoever did evaluate that, needs to give the owner their money back.
Yeah.
At least, if not be, like that's very, very hair raising, and we can't afford to lose 16 units.
We don't have housing.
No, the entry level spot is what spurs the whole machine,
There's no extra housing.
No.
We get calls every single day
Yeah.
about the boarding house, people looking for, something affordable.
Yeah.
And I'm sure those places were affordable.
Oh yeah. They were all, they were getting government assistance, I'm sure. I mean,
so what's going to happen with that?
I have no idea. The owner, I would love to get the owner on. I'd love to get the Pulaski County Housing Authority people that made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to get them on to talk about it. You know, that's compelling stuff. That's like what this is built for.
And the community needs to know the different sides of this. You know, they just get.
The tenant side is easy because they see that flooding social media.
Yeah.
The ownership side of it and like why Pulaski County made that decision.
Yeah.
Like that's the side that people really need to know.
And I tend to feel sorry for landlords because I am one.
Yeah.
And I know that people tear up units.
Can you imagine
trash.
spending $1 million on a place and in 6 months it being condemned?
I would lose it.
Oh my gosh.
I would be bankrupt.
Yeah.
It would bankrupt me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that we would have cushions to absorb that and to do whatever. Who knows what hoops they have to jump through to fix it.
Right. I wonder if there's even any insurance out there that would like take care of, like, could you even foresee that? And like, would you have the forthright knowledge to get that rider in your insurance policy of, oh, well, if for some reason this gets condemned, then, you know, I can survive, or like this policy will pay out.
Well, the other part of this, I know, like, all of our policies, when we get a new policy, an insurance agent comes out and they inspect the property.
Exactly.
So if insurance is willing to insure it, then how does the town or county supersede that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing, is government is also, you know, they're hopping over things that are already in play to make sure that, you know, people are being accommodated. I don't know.
I just think it's just a wild scenario that some people have lived there for years, and all of a sudden they get knocking on the door and they got to leave in 24 hours. Like,
it's awful.
They didn't. I mean, most of those people don't even have the resources to do that.
It's horrible.
So, I mean, you know, you have to go rent a $100 a month or even a $60 a month storage unit, and have to go and like lease a U-Haul. That put them in. I mean, they had to borrow money for that.
Horrible.
They would have had, some of them had to borrow money to do that.
I bet they are just beside themselves.
Yeah. So we've been trying to help. You know, that's what we were, you know. So
you've been on the news?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Getting awareness, raising awareness.
Yeah.
We traveled to Carroll County. A tornado just came through.
Oh, I heard about that.
Did you hear about it?
Yeah, I did.
So we went out there to survey the damage, and it's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, several homes, their roofs were ripped off, and the trees. I mean, it just looks like someone came through the tops of trees and just buzzed them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of cleanup. The power lines are down everywhere. But the whole reason I did that was not to make an appearance as a politician, but it was to, when I go back to Richmond, I have seen how people are grabbing money for their district because of natural disasters.
Yeah.
So there was a bill, you know, on further out in Southwest Virginia that grabbed some flood relief money for a situation where a hillside there was a landslide from one of the big floods, and they were able to get $10-11 million back to their district.
Wow.
So I documented with pictures, you know, everything that went on in Carroll. So next session we can try to see what we can do to help them to get extra money back to that district.
No doubt.
So, you know, it has the appearance when politicians show up on site, but the fact is, that's one thing I've learned about Richmond is, you know, you have to go to the scene to be able to get the money to come back to help people.
Yeah.
So that's part of the racket.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Well, I am excited to continue to see you work. You know, I appreciate our relationship.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a good time talking to you.
Yeah.
I think that's the longest we've went without actually, like, you know, we haven't chatted since the inauguration, like really. But
I have not had time. I haven't talked to most of my friends. They're not even my friends anymore because they're like, Marie never gets back to us.
Right.
And it's not that I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's just we have every day hundreds, if not thousands, of emails roll in, and you have to sift through what's important. Some of it is just vote this way on a bill. You know, you're getting blasted with different things, but then you have to sift through and find the constituents. And there's all kinds of problems with the VEC right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the VEC is melting down.
Right.
They're giving money out to fraud accounts, and then they're sending letters out that people have to pay back $10,000-$12,000 that they never received because it went to a fraud account. It's a mess.
Wow.
We are fielding so many of these phone calls, and people, apparently Volvo is telling their staff that when they got laid off, they can't get their money because it's Marie March's fault. So the union, because the union is against Republican candidates, they're trying to create a narrative to make the Republicans look bad, you know, as if it's not Biden's fault, you know. So I'm fielding phone calls. I'm like, you know, we're trying, but the VEC's in complete meltdown right now. You can't get anywhere right now. It's a disaster.
Wow. I'm surprised they can keep anybody. You know, that's a nightmare to be an employee there.
It's hard on the employees.
Yeah.
And I met with the local VEC department in Radford, and I mean, they're sweet. They're doing all they can do, but they're in the same boat. Yeah. All these people are reaching out to them. They escalate it just like my office escalates it, and we just think it goes into outer space.
It's in the cloud.
It's in the cloud. And I don't know. I mean, people are reaching out like, Marie, is anything happening with this? And I'm like, we're doing everything we know to do. We've contacted the head of everything. I had the head guy in my office, and I mean, I was like, you know, this is a disaster. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I'm hearing it from everybody. He's like, we know. He's like, we're trying. The system, it's the computer system is broken down. The training is broken down. The hierarchy has broken down. It's in complete meltdown. I'm not going to lie.
Wow.
So we're just trying to figure out, you know, how to get it fixed.
Right. Well, I'm sure you guys will come up with something.
Hope so.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our time for today. Marie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. And you know, we need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. What's our subscriber count right now? We're at 360. I mean, that's like, you know, double what we were this time last year.
That's pretty good.
So that's all right.
That's pretty good.
But we need the community to kind of show up and like help us out. So keep directing people to us, and like these compelling stories that you know of, like tell them to contact us, get them in here. We'd love to have them.
Yeah.
And you know, that's kind of what we're about here. So we appreciate everybody that watches. If you have any questions for Marie, put them in the comments. I'll make sure she sees them, and we'll go from there. And thanks again for watching. See y'all next time.